the Saiyan of Legend versus the Monkey King. We're going to be doing a pretty controversial topic, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, welcome back to Autism Unedited. It's your host Dominic. We're here with Kyle. Say what's up, Kyle.
Yeah, what up?
Yeah, we're just talking about Goku versus Sun Wukong, and we wanted to go over this because Kyle wanted to talk about whoever won the Sekiro versus Wukong fight would go on to fight Goku. So there's some issues with the fight, but it'll be fun still. Anything you want to add, Kyle?
Yeah, I think it's less about finding out who wins this fight, because it's pretty obvious. It's more just about how many Dragon Ball fans can we piss off.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is obvious who wins this fight, but I think, you know, after our last video, I did a little bit more research on Wukong, like I said I was going to do, and I did find out some more stuff. I tried to listen to the whole Journey of the West story, and I found out some new stuff. The issue when I said that he does not get hurt at all by anybody, that's not true. He does get hurt by people, and he is caught off guard. And matter of fact, Laozi actually drops it's a diamond jade ring. It's very strong. He dropped it from heaven when he's fighting against Erlong. And it hits him, and he's able to get pinned by Erlong and his brothers and the other forces. And that's when they capture him and bring him back to the Jade Emperor. So, you know, he wasn't as strong as I initially thought. If you want to see all of the other scaling, you can just go ahead and watch our previous video. Link in the description, and I'm going to have like the thumbnail on screen. You know, shameless plug. Go watch that video. It's really good. You know, this is a pretty interesting feat because it shows him getting caught off guard by something falling on him. And it's not like he doesn't have ways of reacting to things like this, so. Also, I do have a couple other things I wanted to bring up when it comes to the Journey to the West story. He does fight this one guy. It's a pig demon. He ends up joining him later on. But this pig demon, he has a 9-prong rake. It's a divine weapon, and he hits Wukong's head multiple times, and it does no damage to him. Eventually, they find out Pigsy's supposed to help him and Tripitaka to the journey to Buddhahood. And Pigsy joins them along. Pigsy then goes on to fight a monster in the river of ever-flowing sands, and he almost beats this monster. This monster is Sandy, by the way, or Sha Wujin, depending on what translation you're using. And he almost beats him until Wukong intervenes, and the monster goes ahead and leaves. The monster used to be a heavenly general as well, so this is a pretty strong monster. So it goes to show you that he does have insane durability. That's just another durability feat that I wanted to go over. He does get damaged by another Taoist artifact. It's a magical silk cap, which goes and tightens around his forehead whenever the spell is spoken. And this was given to him by Guan Yin because Tripitaka needed a way to control Wukong when he is being disobedient. So this is why there's a few things that I just didn't mention. He does get damaged. I know I did say he gets damaged by magical artifacts in that, but this is what those magical artifacts are, so I wanted to bring those up. And he also does get kidnapped. He's in a divine sealing gourd by the gold and silver horned brothers. They kidnap Wukong, and they're supposed to turn him into like a slush, a black muck. But it didn't actually hurt Wukong. He just pretended to be that way, and then when they opened up the gourd, he escapes by turning into a cicada and flying out and leaving half of his corpse, quote unquote, to make it look like he did die. And that satisfied the brothers. He ended up stealing this gourd, and then using the gourd, he sealed both of them, which they did turn to muck, right? And these beings were able to best Wukong. So Wukong's durability is stronger than these beings. And I know it has a lot to do with his immortal, like how he's immortal and stuff like that. But I do want to bring that up, that he is able to survive things that he just shouldn't. And I just found that interesting. He also does...
Small intervention.
Go ahead.
You've been talking too long. Interesting fact that Yinkaku and Ginkaku, the Gold and Silver brothers from the War Arc and Naruto, those guys are based on the Gold and Silver Horn demons.
Yes, I was going to bring that up after I was done talking about Wukong. But I do think that's so fucking cool, and I'm glad you brought that up. It just fits perfectly, because when I was listening to the Journey to the West story, I was just thinking of that fight while I was listening to this fight. So it's really cool. So another thing that I had was he gets knocked out by some fire, and this fire is made by a very strong demon and burns out Wukong, causing him to pass out and requiring assistance from Guan Yin. Now, Guan Yin is this divine being who's almost right under Buddha, and she actually requires special water to douse the flame, so it makes sense that fire is causing enough damage to knock him out. But that's pretty much it for the feats I wanted to add. I wrote down a lot more, but it's just, these are some things that are like anti-feats I wanted to bring up per se. It's just him actually getting tagged, him actually being in situations that he could die. That's pretty much it. Did you want to just get over like a little bit of scaling of Goku real quick, Kyle? Just go over a little bit and we can point back to our old video if they want to get the whole gist of how you feel Goku is.
I would, but I don't really have anything more to add, so they can go ahead and watch that video if they're curious.
That's
I'm
fair.
sure most people know who Goku is and what he's about and where he stands, depending on interpretations.
Alright, well, why don't you just go ahead and say at least how strong you think he is before we get into this fight.
End of Granola arc, after he gets one shot by Black Frieza, I'd probably put him somewhere in mid to high Universal.
Yeah, I would agree to that. Maybe Universal Plus. I think because he's just shaking universes with casual punches, if he really were to try, he could probably break a couple universes. But yeah, I don't know. It's not going to be a fair fight, like you said. Goku does get stomped.
Which one?
I don't care which one! Get them both!
That man's an imposter. That man is the imposter.
Can Mastered Ultra Instinct at least keep up with Sun Wukong? That's the question that we're here to ask.
I think it should. A lot of the feats we get from like Wukong's fighting, I don't think they're as impressive as we made them out to be in the first video. Like his feat of him jumping across or outside of the universe, that's obviously impressive. I don't know how you'd scale that above just immeasurable speed, but Goku has that too. Do you think with Master Ultra Instinct they should at least be somewhat relative speed-wise? Not to say that like Wukong isn't going to be able to hit him, I don't think that's true. Mastered UI Goku gets dogged on by Gas and Black Frieza, so it's not like a hacks or anything, you can definitely still be hit. It's really hard to say where Wukong stands like AP-wise, though. Like obviously his durability is not in question. Like that's like the main thing about this fight is like even if Goku had like massively overpowered AP compared to Wukong, like he's just immortal. So I don't see how far that would get him. And you know obviously Goku can still he can still be killed.
Well, what's interesting is in the Journey to the West story, not a lot of the enemies that he defeats are killed. A lot of the times they just flee, and it's totally fine for them to flee. Like he tries to chase them sometimes they get away, sometimes they don't. And
are you trying to like say that Goku's gonna pull a Jonathan Joestar?
No, I don't think
Joseph Joestar?
No, I don't think he's gonna try and run away like Joseph Joestar. But I think Wukong might at certain points of the fight. And I think that this is going to be an extended battle for quite some time, if that makes sense. So, I think
understand. I just don't see like why Wukong would need to do that.
Why he would need to run away? Well, let's go over some of the things that like happened to him. So he actually does run away a little bit after he gets sealed in the Divine Gore to try and come up with a plan. He ends up tricking these two guys to get sucked into the gore themselves. He doesn't defeat them with his AP, right? He just uses his head. these beings are able to pin him down with 3 mountains, which I believe these mountains each represent a cosmic space. I'm not saying they're an infinite space. I'm just saying that they're larger than a mountain. These are some things that are able to pin down him. I'm not saying that Goku wouldn't get pinned down by these as well, but these are some of these things that are restraining him, and he's able to, you know, get back up and fight after that. So it is hard to say, but he does run away sometimes, and when he runs away, he just goes back to his cave, and his cave does seem pretty chill, so I don't blame him. But my point being is sometimes he has to back off in fights too, and I could see Goku pressing him enough to do that. So there's one thing I didn't want to bring up. There's a point where Wukong sneaks in to steal a magical fan. It's a divine fan, and the reason why he steals it is because he needs it to douse the flames of the immortal burning furnace that he knocked off in heaven. It fell to earth and created a mountain that is always on fire. So he needed to steal this fan from these 2 demons. And the way that he does this is by turning into both of them and talking to them, transforming and trying to convince them that he is that person. And eventually he gets his hand on the real fan. At one point he gets caught and he is almost about to get hit. He transforms into a beam of light to escape. That's kind of an anti-feat, if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't see why I'd need to do that.
I'm not really sure why he would need to do that either, but...
Is that like an outlier statement?
From what I can see, yes. I mean, obviously he did jump across all of existence in a blink of an eye, but that's movement speed, not necessarily combat speed. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that he is fighting these celestial beings and also gods, right? And there's a point where he needs to make it rain and also stop it from raining at a certain time to convince these Taoist people that the weather listens to Wukong instead of the Taoist monks. And the way that he does this is by creating a clone and then leaving the clone near the Taoist priests to trick them and think that he's still there. And then he jumps up to heaven real quick and then threatens all the gods of the weather to not let it rain when the Taoist monks want it to rain, and only make it rain when he wants it to rain. And they all listen because they're scared of him. Clearly the gods of weather have to scale pretty high. I mean, natural disasters can do a lot of damage to the planet, and they're in control of all of that. And usually when you're a god, you're not using all of your strength when you're doing stuff like that as well. I'm just trying to say, it's kind of hard to scale religion, but if you get what I'm saying, these beings should be faster than light. They should at least be close to immeasurable speed. And I think Wukong should be too in his combat. But I just saw that beam of light feat and I thought that was kind of a bad feat for him, you know?
Yeah, I would just call that an outlier and leave it at that. I think the biggest problem with trying to discuss this is that in the Journey to the West, there's like a significant lack of feats. Like in Dragon Ball, it's very easy to scale things. We have numbers, we have like progression, we have blatant multipliers. Like for this, it's mostly like mythological lore. There's very little like scaling and feats outside of Buddha's outer versal, and these gods are sitting somewhere around universal to MFTL or immeasurable speed. And there's like very little in between that. And that's kind of where Goku's sitting at.
Right, exactly. And I know he goes down to the land of the dead and erases his name from the book of death. And when he does that, the divine beings that are down there are kind of pissed, but they don't do anything to him because they don't want to fight him. You know, these are just kind of statements. If the gods of death don't want to fight somebody, they have to be at least a little bit strong, you know, and he can shapeshift into his opponents. So he could just turn into Goku and then gain all of Goku's abilities.
Just revive the Saiyan race by himself. Just make 84,000 Gokus.
Yeah, he could make 84,000 Gokus. I don't think he would need to, because he can transform into any element. He can transform into any animal. He can transform into any of the previous opponents that he fought before. You know, he just doesn't do it very often because he likes to flex himself, you know.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like a straight up battle goes, that's like not to the death. I think that's a bit harder than just fight to the death, bloodlusted, like who wins, simply because Wukong has such a wide variety of abilities and hacks that Goku really doesn't have counters to. And he doesn't have a whole lot of those things himself.
Right. In a pure boxing match, I honestly think it's way closer than you would imagine. I mean, we're not talking about when he's Buddha Wukong. Obviously, he's outerversal at that point. He's above multiversal structures like clusters of universes and stuff like that.
Right. That's why I'm saying that it's hard to scale, because like obviously Goku doesn't measure up to things like Gods of Destruction or the angels at this point, and it's a bit disingenuous to say that like anybody, like the tier below Buddha is just equivalent to like the angels or whatnot, simply just because we don't have enough information.
Yeah, they all seem to be pretty equal to one another, and Guanjin seems to be very peaceful. But I will say this, whenever they're stuck in a situation that they can't seem to pass, Guan Yin will actually grant them spirits to help, and these spirits usually get them out of whatever sticky situation that they're in. So she seems to be the strongest besides Buddha, and I think she's stronger than the Jade Emperor, but I could be wrong on this.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it really just boils down to how you want to preface the confrontation. Are they just boxing up? Is it fight to the death? In boxing, in my opinion, I think could go either way. I mean, if all feats, all abilities boxing match, I still think Wukong takes it, and obviously in a fight to the death, Wukong simply can't die, so.
Yeah, the whole not dying thing definitely puts a damper on the fight to the death, but the point...
I mean, even just his power stealing, shape shifting, and fucking shadow clone jutsu is bad enough on it by itself.
Right. You would have to restrict Wukong to not be able to transform against Goku during the boxing match, and also not clone himself. In that case, I could see Goku winning 5 times out of 10 in this boxing match. Anything else, it's probably like just if
you're
it's
severely nerfing Wukong.
I guess. I think I don't know. It's hard to say, like you said, as AP. Just there is no feats for it, really. I guess I don't know. There's just no feats for Wukong.
At least nothing like set in stone that you can like get.
Well, okay. So when he's fighting against the divine magician, they end up fighting in heaven again. They start fighting on Earth, and then what he does is he tricks him by turning into his wife, and then he sees him in his own house while they're in heaven. And then they start fighting in heaven, and then eventually they fight all the way back down to Earth. So I did think that's a pretty fun feat, and the Jade Emperor's nephew Erlong is a very strong magician, so I would say that's pretty close to his strongest AP feat. And I don't really know where you want to scale that, but that seems to be one of his hardest fights that he gets into.
The simplest way would just be leave speed immeasurable, say they can both hurt each other, and that simply Wukong just has more durability.
Yeah, he definitely has more durability. I don't even really see Goku knocking him out. It took a lot for the fire from that one demon to knock him out, and that they needed help to defeat the fire of that demon from Guan Yin, and she needed to grab some special water to do this. So I think that definitely it adds a little bit to the fact that this is more than just regular fire. This is a crazy overpowered fire that is getting hit.
Okay, I do have a question for you that could make this a bit more interesting. Manga only Goku, his Hakai, how do you think that interacts? Although his is much weaker than like Beerus's. Do you think that bypasses immortality, durability?
I wonder.
I wish I brought this up before the video. I hate to put you on the spot like that.
I guess it targets the mortal body and not divine essence, which Sun Wukong actually sheds his mortal body during the journey to the west, so...
Yeah, I'm not talking about Buddha Wukong. I'm not sure if those are two different things you're talking about.
I think he does, when he becomes an immortal, he sheds his body, I think.
It's like when Beerus Hakai's Zamasu, I don't know the name of them, the gods in Dragon Ball, the weird fucking green people. they are technically immortal, and he can kill them, but Beerus wasn't able to Hakai fuse Zamasu because he was kind of like omnipresent.
Talking about the Supreme Kais, right?
Yeah, the Supreme Kai. That form fuse Zamasu is considered to be like a transcendental immortality, kind of like to what Buddha and Buddha Wukong would be considered, and that doesn't work on them. So if you're going to consider them two different forms of immortality, it might work on one, it might not work on the other. Well, it definitely wouldn't work on the other.
I definitely think it could damage him. So he actually gets his head cut off during the Journey to the West story before he becomes Buddha Wukong. And he tries to retrieve his head, but the Taoist monks that challenged him used some form of trickery to stop his head from moving. I think they used some sort of magic to pin his head down. So instead of getting his head back, he just said, "Grow!" And his head popped back out and he had a new head. So I think if there's...
Yeah, that's kind of like what Yawak can do. That's why I brought him up earlier this week.
Yeah,
We gotta do something with him.
yeah, that would be cool. We can do Yawak versus like Kaguya maybe. Even if it's a wash on Kaguya, I mean, this is a wash too, so...
It is like an absolute no diff.
Even if she uses the ever-expanding Truth Seeker Orb that can destroy our universe, people hate that, but...
No diffed.
That's fair. Alright, guys, well... Yeah, I think Goku loses this one pretty badly, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, 0 out of 10. I don't see any situation in which he wins unless you're like heavily nerfing Wukong, which isn't really fair.
Yeah, you can't really nerf him. The whole point of him is that he's the strongest. And
Yeah, I mean, you're also using like different feats and scaling from like different parts of the story where he's also getting stronger. So like, we need like some sort of consistent.
yeah, I'm trying my best to like keep it consistent. I'm trying to do it like right before he enters Buddhahood, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's hard to scale him because he honestly kind of stays consistently the same strength throughout the series until he enters Buddhahood. And I don't mean that in the way that he's as strong as he is right at the beginning. But when he starts his journey to the West, after being sealed for 500 years, he is as strong as he is going to get until he enters Buddhahood.
Fair enough. Yeah, Goku gets washed, read it and leap.
Yeah, unfortunately, guys. But it's okay. Superman would get washed too.
Tree time.